Everybody, I want to welcome you into our technology user group session on bringing sexy back to data analytics. We did talk about playing a Justin Timberlake song as our walk-in, walk-up music, but we decided not to do that today. My name is Daryl Moorhead. I am the Director of Member and Business Development at the Colorado Society of CPAs. And this is part of a series from our technology user group, which is led by Jim Gilbert, who's also a board member this year with COCPA and has a real interest. And so we have actually a monthly meeting to talk about tech and create some of these programs. So if anyone's interested in being a part of that, I'll throw my information up in the chat box and you can reach out separately and we can talk about that. But I want to get today's event rolling. I also want to make sure I thank Xero, who is a COCPA Silver partner. They have signed an agreement with us to work together on events like this and to share their expertise with our members. And I ask that you, if you're looking for a accounting cloud-based platform, that you definitely give them some consideration because they're all about supporting us and the profession. And then I also want to let you know to throw any of your questions up in the chat box. We will have time at the end of the presentation for question and answer session. And then we will actually, if we run out of time, we will, the panelists have agreed to stay on to answer questions if you can stay on, if you have a question, but we will do that at the end. If there's a particular question, we might answer it during the session, but we will have a dedicated time at the end. So, and then also I wanted to let you know for CPE purposes, so you all know, polling questions will pop up at a regular interval. We'll try to put that in chat as well so that you know that they've popped up. And if you have problems or you're not seeing those polling questions, please also respond in the chat and we'll address that issue as well. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jim Gilbert from Jim Gilbert CPA. He is a tech lover, I would call him. We've had a lot of tech conversations. He's worked a lot with AI CPA and he's going to be our moderator today and he's going to introduce the rest of the panel and we'll get rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate very much. I'd like to introduce my fellow panelists, starting with Casey. Casey and everybody, please tell us who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself, if you could, please.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. Yep. Hi, everybody. My name is Casey Barlow. So I am a partner consultant here at Xero. Also still an active CPA here in Colorado, AI CPA member. So what does a partner consultant do at Xero? So basically, we're kind of the solutions engineers that kind of help, we fit our product into your firm, into your workflows, into the service lines you provide. So just that technical resource along with our account managers that would work with you. So thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you. Christian?
Hey, everybody, I'm Christian Filus. I'm a senior account manager at Xero. I really help people kind of implement when they're first considering Xero and educate on the different features available and where it works, where it doesn't work. Born and raised in Denver, Colorado, and happy to be here.
Thank you, Christian. Jim Hall.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hall. Live in Broomfield, Westminster area here in Denver Metro. I'm the co-founder of Tally Street. We are a customer intelligence and data analytics software to help B2B businesses and their CPA advisors understand customers and collections and sales better. Thanks for having me today, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, Jay?
Hey everybody, I am Jay Kimmelman. I'm a CPA down in Florida. I run a firm called the Digital CPA, and I also run a consulting firm called Your Digital Practice. I've been using Xero since 2012. I consider myself a recovering appaholic. I do have an app problem, and you'll see some of that as we go through the presentation today. But glad to be here, and looking forward to sharing what we know about cloud and data analytics.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from our teammates from Maryland. Skip.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Skip Flatko. I'm CFO at the Maryland Association of CPAs. Thanks for having us. We'll talk a little bit about our cloud journey and then our experience with Xero and Tally Street.
Thanks, Skip. Laura.
Hi there. I'm Laura Swan. I work with Skip, Maryland Association of CPAs. I'm going to talk a little bit about our experience with our journey to the cloud, Xero user and Tally Street user.
All right. Thank you, guys. Christian, Casey, well, let's get started on cloud accounting.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So I think the first where we'll start is just kind of defining, what is cloud-based accounting. I think a lot of people think of the term cloud as just a buzzword. It might even be scary to some people upon first hearing it. But really, in the simplest terms, it's just cloud computing, which is storing and accessing data over the internet instead of your computer's hard drive. So the cloud is really a metaphor for the internet. It goes back to the days of flow charts and presentations that would represent gigantic server farm infrastructure of the internet, but it's really nothing but a puffy white cumulus cloud accepting connections and doling out information as it floats. It's a lot safer, a lot more accessible, and that's why there's so much talk about cloud-based accounting.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian, for the quick intro on cloud accounting. So what I'm just going to quickly go over is 5 different little items here, why everybody should be in the cloud now. Number 1 is just leveraging your time. Number 2, security backup. 3, access. 4, automation. And 5, real-time collaboration. And we're going to go back up to that first item here, leveraging your time. So being in the cloud leverages the efficiencies that desktop software doesn't inherently have. And an example of that is, having an open API ecosystem and having integrated solutions to your accounting software means there's less manual human processing that takes place. Next item is that security and backup. All data is stored in the cloud with world-class providers such as AWS, which Xero sits on, and as well as Google and Snowflake and some other ones out there. And they all use, industry-leading banking level security. If you go to their big software or server campuses, there's armed guards there, everything. So it's very secure. Next is that access piece. So, remote access 24/7 from anywhere in the world, from your PC, a phone, or a tablet. And there's also not relying on a hosted solution or paying for a hosted solution, and kind of being dependent on those. Next is that automation piece. So automating, things in your accounting software, such as the bank reconciliation, using bank feed and bank rules. The more automation, the less likely data is inaccurate will be recorded by human touch. So the less hands we can, or the less hands we can get off the data, the better our data is. Last but not least is that real-time collaboration. And I think we can all kind of appreciate this now in this Zoom, COVID environment that we're in. So, our clients and advisors can be working real-time with the most up-to-date information inside their software, and not just looking retrospectively at the data from month to month. So just having that real-time collaboration is a real game changer. And that's it for me. So I'll give it back over to Christian and Jay.
Thank you.
Cool. So what I'm going to talk about before I kind of kick it off is really like building a software stack for your firm or for a client you're working with. There's really 2 sets of stacks that we like to advise on at Xero, and that's building a horizontal stack, which is a group of apps or software that you're going to use for your practice and use with the majority of your clients. So that would be something like a practice management software, something like Xero, something like payroll software like ADP or Gusto, something you're going to use for everybody. And then you can also talk about vertical app stacks or other softwares that are really strategic for the verticals you serve or a specific focus of clients. You're not going to be using the same POS system for a restaurant that you would somebody who's selling Beanie Babies, more than likely. Or maybe you should, I don't know, but I'm not the accountant here. But that's really where you're kind of getting into the advisory space with your clients and really building a lot more automation. Casey, can we go to the next slide to kind of give some examples?
There we go.
This slide right here.
Yep, here we go. So here's an example of a vertical app stack. So this is really focusing on folks that are in the retail and e-commerce space. You could use Xero at the middle. And then, you could use Stripe for accepting payments, Gusto for your payroll reasons. And then we have a lot of inventory apps that all connect with Xero as well, such as Deer, Fishbowl, Unleashed. And then e-commerce specifically, A2X is a wonderful solution, especially when you're talking about sales tax and getting everything in the format that you need. Expensify or Xero Expenses are also really helpful helpful when we're talking about reimbursable expenses for your client's employees. So that's just one example. We have a lot of different examples that we can help provide you on and educate you on as far as what might be a good fit for a nonprofit vertical, a construction vertical, so on and so forth. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And then if we can go to the next slide.
Gotcha. That one, or
this is an example of a horizontal stack. So this is something you're going to use with pretty much everyone or to help manage your firm. So you're using Xero, you're using Salesforce, as a CRM internally. Practice Ignition, that's a tool that's going to help you engage with your clients and stay streamlined. That connects with Xero and as well as Xero Practice Manager. And then Tally Street to get some really valuable analytics on the clients that you're working with. So I'll kind of kick things over to Jade maybe to speak on a little bit of his stack. This is his specific stack he uses at the Digital CPA, and how he kind of came about this from his severe alcoholism to where he is today.
Thanks, Christian. So, everything at the Digital CPA starts with Xero, because we use it as our financial hub, and everything runs in and out of Xero. And if we're going to bring on an app, we want it to pretty much natively interact with or integrate with Xero. But the process starts most of the time with our website. And that's what we have in the upper corner there, the Digital CPA. That's our website and the calendar link there. They work in conjunction with each other. And that information, once we get that filled out, goes into Salesforce. And we have some automations there to connect it to ActiveCampaign to ensure that we are keeping in touch with those prospects and our clients to know that we are here, what we do, and how we can help them. And if they haven't booked an appointment up front, we're constantly pinging them, hey, book that free consultation. Go ahead, book it now. And with that, Tally Street's running in the background. And if all of the information is in there, if they have created an account in Salesforce, we're going to start seeing analytics about that prospective client right away. And I mean, from our perspective, it's not a big deal how many days it takes for them to pay their bills, because we bill for them upfront on the beginning of every month. And that's just how our engagements work. But if we had a more traditional firm where we're billing by the hour and billing after the fact in arrears, that might play into that decision to bring that client on. So, we're really looking at things like that. And we also have connections into Practice Ignition. And that's what you see in the lower right-hand corner there. We have that Zapier logo there. And we have Zapier running over everything we got, because we do not want to do any manual intervention. As Casey or Christian said, the more times you touch the data, the more likely you are to make an error. So we want to automate as much of that as possible. So when a deal goes into a specific stage, all that information is copied in a Practice Ignition. We pretty much take 5 minutes, put in the details of the engagement, send that out. And when that engagement is accepted, you see there's 3 lines coming out of Practice Ignition. We automatically get the bills or the invoices into Xero. Those payments are automatically synced for us. So that part is done for us. Our jobs are created for us in Teamwork, which is our practice management platform. And out in Typeform, we're sending out the surveys that we need to get the job started and start the onboarding process. And there should be another link there going back to the website, because we're actually building out a portal there to capture all this information and to sync that all through Salesforce. So, that's how you see how we get started. And this is just the firm side of it. And this is the things that we're using internally. The one thing I left off was on the left-hand side is that Place CPM. That is an app that connects between Salesforce and Xero, and it will actually forecast our revenue and expenses, give us a cash forecast and a P&L forecast. And as the months churn, that turns into the actual data that's pulled in from Xero. So we actually have financials in Xero. We have it in Salesforce. We want that data where we're living, because we're in the cloud. You don't see any desktop software there. And the nice thing about this is I'm not tied to this desk. An hour ago, I was sitting in a parking lot at my daughter's school waiting to pick her up with my iPad, and I could have been in any one of these apps doing anything I needed to do to run my business. I've even done sales calls from my Jeep sitting there in that parking lot. So, having these apps and being very agile help you get that job done.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Now we'll get started with a little bit a section on data analytics and accounting. That's kind of the meat of the presentation. We'll start with Casey and Jay to talk about their section.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thanks, Jim. So what you're seeing here is the analytical value escalator. So we have an X and Y axis here, the value and the difficulty. So, most firms where they're at right now today, is in these first two buckets, is that descriptive analytics phase. What happened, the hindsight, what happened in the previous periods, the previous months, the previous years. Then you kind of graduate up into more of an insight bucket, into the diagnostic analytics. So, why did it happen? Just try to figure out what's going on. And then as we move up, then we go into the predictive analytics. So as Jay just mentioned, he uses a forecasting tool there. So how can we project the future, looking forward thinking? And then lastly is that foresight. This gets us up and graduates us into that advisory level services, those value added services that firms can provide to their clients. Is, how with all three of those buckets is the last one. Now, how can we make it happen now? We've had our hindsight, we have our insight. Now, how do we act on that and move forward into the future? I'm going to switch over to another slide here. It's the same, basically the same graph here, but with a little more detail that Jim Hall is going to take us into.
All right, thanks, Casey. Yeah, I mean, again, this information on this slide really kind of goes along that same line. A little more information about what that means from data testing and mining to more visualization, moving up the chain, to getting to pattern matching, trending, regression analysis, things like that. All the kinds of things that analytics can do. And analytics has always been considered kind of a scary word or a dirty word. I mean, look how it's spelled. Nobody likes ticks. So we can get to the point where we're comfortable and we can use the information. I hear a lot of accountants I work with talk about efficiency and being able to leverage their time and being able to monetize the work that they're doing. And that comes down to having timely understanding of what's happening in their firm as well as in their clients' books, and then using that information to take action. So it's all about taking action, being able to understand enough to ask good questions, provide good information, and help the client understand maybe what action should take. And that's really what that move to advisory, providing value-added services, helping business owners understand their business better. That's where we're all being pulled and pushed from. In terms of what the societies are, both Maryland and Colorado and others are trying to drive to its members, but also what the business owners that you work with every day are looking for. They're looking for that help, that assistance, that insight. And you're the one that is the financial expert. You're probably the most financially savvy person that they know. And they expect you to have some ability to ask good questions and provide, good information. That helps make the client more profitable, makes your practice more profitable, and everybody happier. Again, the big picture is to try to remove that fear and make analytics sexy, interesting, fun, and it can tell you a great story to help you answer questions that you've had for a long time or questions that come up, all the time. And that's where we move on that continuum. And we've been working with Skip and his team in Maryland, and I love to have Skip and his team maybe share their story with us to help others understand how they worked with Xero and Tally Street to answer some of their questions in this world.
Sounds good, Jim. Thank you. Let me give you a little bit of brief background. Maryland, MACPA, the Maryland Association of CPAs, similar to Colorado, as a state society doing normal state society work. We provide CPE, we do advocacy, peer review, those sort of traditional things. We're a small business in effect, and we've got a budget this year of about $6 million. But we also have had a sales team that sells learning nationwide to firms and corporations. And so for our members, we have a retail sales, B2C, but to the firms and corporations we sell to, that's our B2B line of business. So our cloud story goes back about 5 years ago. we had a CEO, Tom Hood, who is now with AICPA, who was a pretty tech savvy guy, big fan of the cloud, and had been talking to our members about the cloud and what he saw as the advantages of it. Tom had a saying that we should eat our own dog food. That is to say, we should be willing to walk the walk and incorporate what he's sort of preaching in our own operation. Prior to moving to the cloud, we had a custom on-site server-based association management system that a number of state CPA societies used, and that worked really well, but it was not especially web-friendly. And so that precipitated the move to the cloud for us, or it was part of the equation. At the time, we also ran Great Plains Dynamics, also on an on-site server. So that worked just fine, but again, things weren't particularly web friendly, and we recognized that we needed to be more web friendly to be a little more agile, more nimble in working with our members. So in mid 2016, we changed almost everything. There were a couple apps that we used in anticipation of this, Bill.com for AP, and then Tally as an expense management system we had adopted, not to be confused with Tally Street, that we had adopted prior to 2016. So mid-year, we kind of blew everything up and we moved to the Google suite of products. We have a technology and marketing partner who helped build a new website for us. We adopted a new general ledger system, Xero, at that time. And then we our technology partner built a new custom association management system called Laruda. And then we added a new credit card processor, Stripe. So it really was kind of a burn the ships moment where we jumped into a fully cloud-based suite of products and plowed through it. I mentioned our CEO wanted us to walk the walk and sort of demonstrate for our members that it can be done. We, at the time, also wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I think Casey mentioned that earlier, but we, just as an example, as an anecdote, we've got 3 highly regarded staff members who, over the last few years, for family reasons, wanted to move out of state, and we were able to retain them because they can really easily work remotely, which has been a huge benefit to us. And it's also been a huge benefit through COVID. We haven't really missed anything being out of the office for the last 13 months or so. So that was a huge benefit. We also felt that the security on the systems we were using was much better than what we could have developed or maintained on our own. And we can rely on those providers for a high level of security. And then finally, we felt, and I think Tally Street is a great example of this, that we could add or change applications as needed as new products come along. We adopted Tally Street, I guess it's been a couple years ago. That was a late addition to the applications that we use, but that's been a welcome addition, certainly. And then finally, I think there's easier access to data by being in the cloud. It's just easier to get at and easier to use. In terms of bumps along the road, change is always painful. For us, from the accounting team perspective, everything worked just fine. We were happy with the old world. It was pretty easy. We were used to it. But organizationally, it made more sense to go to the clouds, especially, as I mentioned, from trying to sell and increase and improve our web presence. That was a compelling reason to switch. There was a big learning curve initially, a fair amount of pain, especially given we changed literally everything simultaneously. We had some good Xero professional help along the way, which I think was a huge help. I know Jay does that kind of work. We had at the time, a board member who also was very proficient in Xero. And so that helped us, I think, in terms of configuration and getting bank feeds and that kind of thing up and running. That was hugely beneficial. So as part of the membership database, the association management system we built, there were a number of bugs early on that we had to work through that our technology partner helped us navigate, but that was difficult. I think things took longer than expected, but a couple years in, we were glad we made the change, and the pain that we had experienced up front was far exceeded by the benefits down the road. So we're happy about that. I think at the time we also had very supportive volunteer leadership who were willing at the time to get in front of members, because the members had to put up with some bumps in the road as well. And so our volunteer leadership was willing to stand in front of members and talk about what we were doing and why. And so that was a huge help as well. Laura, do you want to share a little insights and some of our Xero experience from your perspective in doing a lot of the day-to-day accounting work?
Sure, I do. I think I'm the prime user of Xero in our department. We obviously needed a cloud-based GL package, and so we were looking at some other options that were probably more costly and maybe more bells and whistles and things than we needed. Xero is robust enough for what we need and cost effective without being too much. The automation, one of the biggest things that we realize or benefit from now is like their automated bank reconciliations. We used to spend, or I used to spend, probably a day a month in closing doing our old bank rec. It seemed like a different lifetime or a million years ago, but it was a difficult and puzzle kind of process. But Xero connects directly with the bank, brings in your bank feeds. Reconciliations are pretty much up to date almost daily if you do that clip with a few clicks and things like that. So it's a thing that I don't even really think about anymore. It's bank reconciliations. It also obviously integrates and works well with all of our data sources. Our AMS that Skip talked about, Bill.com feeds directly into that, Stripe feeds into it. All those things work really well together. Xero is also super easy to export data out, import data in, to automate things. We can upload, journal entries. Actually, that's how data comes in from our AMS system, is through huge journal entries imported and posted automatically. We also have used it importing files for annual invoices. We have a program where we had to send out, I think the time we did it a little while ago was about 1,200 invoices that were all going to be similar. Data was all loaded into a file and it was imported into Xero, created the invoices and sent them out. It's also easy to get the data out. So we export trial balances monthly out of Xero, and we have we use Power Query and Excel to make some custom statements that we use by line of business. And so we're able to quickly and easily download the information out of Xero and import it into Excel and use it that way. We're doing all of this all of the time, completely from, in the last, like Skip said, 13 months, completely from home, without a blip, without any trouble at all. So that's one of our, our part of our story and great reason to be in the cloud and using these things.
Yeah, I used to feel that we had the world's hardest bank rec because we've got a whole lot of credit card charges. And so that was very painful, but the automation has been a huge benefit, certainly. So we're pretty happy about that.
Right.
Let me talk a little bit about Tally Street. I've got a couple slides up here, and one thing we like about Tally Street is the automation that it easily plugs into Xero. It took maybe 2 minutes to get connected, which is great. And from that, we get monthly Excel file reports and a monthly PDF report that outlines certain customer information that's important to us. This slide here analyzes and ranks customers based on their volume and how well they pay. So you can see it's ranked from champions, our best types of customers, down to hibernating, possible mismatch, and late payer. So the software does the heavy lifting and analyzing to categorize what types of customers we have and how they fit into the various best to worst classifications. So that's very powerful. If you want to flip to the next slide, there's another report on a separate tab, top customers. This is a snip from that report. The numbers are real, the customers are fake. And you can basically see who are your best customers in order. And you can classify that as, you can filter it in multiple ways. So if you're interested in trailing 12 months, which is how it's presented here, you can look at that. If you want to look at lifetime value, you can look at that. And it helps give some insights as to whether you're over-reliant on a particular customer or block of customers. It also gives you analytical information on days sales outstanding. We, in our prior life, used to put together for our sales team a top 100 customer list. And that was typically a manually intensive effort that was kind of painful and always done after the fact, after all the other important monthly reporting work was done, or quarterly or annually, whatever. And so this automatically, Tally Street automatically delivers those top customers, which is tremendous and a huge benefit. The sales team, I don't have slides for it, but the sales team can see which customers are fading away and might require some follow-up or some more attention. One thing I like here, you can see a little highlight in the cell that shows a 20% selection. You can change that to whatever you want. So pick 10%, pick 50%, whatever. But this is a snippet of what the top 20% of our customers do in terms of total sales. So that's a very powerful thing as well, and usually beneficial to our sales team. And then if we could flip to the next slide, I mentioned Tally Street connects with Xero very easily. It also connects to Salesforce very easily.
There we go.
Yep, there we go. Okay. So this is an actual customer. I don't think I included the name, so that's good. But you can see, and this is configurable. That's the other nice thing. So you can choose whatever metrics are important to you. We chose last 3 years of total sales, lifetime value of sales, months since the most recent sale, how they rank in terms of sales, total sales, their classification. In this instance, they're a champion. Average days to pay, and then any outstanding balance or any overdue balance. So our sales team can pop into Salesforce and without having to run a report, look at a customer's account and determine, hey, here's what they've done. Here are any outstanding issues that I need to know about. They've got sort of instant access to that information, which is hugely helpful to them. So we're super pleased with that. I think in a nutshell, it's easy, it's automated, and it's inexpensive. So that, from my perspective, kind of checks all the boxes. It's great to have. From a cloud perspective, I should have mentioned, we had our annual audit last summer, and that was done completely remotely. We gave access to our auditors to tap into our various systems, and they can scroll through there as they see fit. And so that was another huge benefit of being in the cloud as opposed to having a server-based system. So that's sort of the crux. I'm happy to take any questions or plow ahead.
Thanks, Skip and Laura. Good job. Thank you. Hey, Jim, any other comments about Tally Street in Maryland and your relationship there?
No, it's been powerful to help help answer Skip question that they were spending hours, days, lots of stress and time on to get their top customers, and be able to do that instantly for them, and then be able to share that information and that analytics into the sales team. And again, I guess the difference between analytics and just reporting is it's not just the numbers, it's what the numbers tell you or how the numbers are trending, and some insights into what they say. So analytics is a lot more detailed than just reporting. Reporting is a part of it, but certainly analytics is about taking the information, looking at the data, looking for patterns, looking for trends, looking for outliers, and bubbling them to the surface. And there's this whole concept of RevOps, revenue operations, between sales, marketing, customer success, and finance. That alignment and being able to have everybody singing from the same hymnal. And the real record of truth is not in the CRM. I've never seen a salesperson yet who keeps the CRM up to date. So you go to the real accurate record, source of truth, which is the accounting software. But I've also never met an accountant that wants to give a salesperson access to the books. So there's these two constant battles going on. I need the information in my tool. I have the information, but you can't get to it without my permission. And it just creates all this manual work, cloud or not. So being able to do that safely and consistently and efficiently with the most important things aligns the companies together. That's one of the key things that Tally Street is trying to enable, and use that information and use that data, the analytics for advisors to monetize the work that they're already doing with their clients.
Right. Thank you, Jim. Jay, love to hear from you, Jay, and your comments on Maryland, data analytics, monetizing your business. Kind of like to hear your thoughts, if we could, please.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've been using Tally Street just a short amount of time, and I see the value in it. Although, like I said, I'm not looking at some of those pieces of data because we're not looking at AR issues or things like that. But it gives us a lot of information that we can use to work on our forecasts and figure some things out. And from my perspective, now that I am past the May 17th tax deadline, I'm digging deeper into my conversations with my clients now between the next quarter or so. Getting reacquainted and find out what's going on in their lives and where things stand. I'm going to be looking at, where does a tool like Tally Street fit in their app stack, and how can they take advantage of it to, see the insights into their customers and where they can use that. And, as we talked about the other day, advisory is nothing more than having good conversations with your clients. You have to get them to open up and tell you what's important to them. And, by sitting down and having these meetings, our clients are just comfortable and they value our opinion. So they'll open up now and tell us, what's going on in their life. Their daughter's graduating from college. They want to buy her a house, or, they're looking to expand and buy a warehouse. And, we need to know those things up front so we can actually advise them. And having that knowledge tied to the information that's in their accounting system, we can actually add that value to our engagements to them. And, next time we're coming through for re-upping that engagement, they're not going to beat their eyes twice at a price increase of 25, 50%, maybe 100%, depending on what you're doing. But you're delivering the value to them because you understand their business, their data, and you're translating it to them and feeding them the information they need that they don't know they need.
Thank you, Jay. There was a question about can people use Xero or QuickBooks Online? In my shop, I use both. It's a little bit different environment. There's benefits to one or the other, and I like both those. So what we're trying to do is there's many cloud accounting products, but Xero is presenting for us today. So I think it's a pretty good option to look at different things and see what's out there. So we have a series of questions here. Christian, one quick question for you. You compete in this space all the time. You get to see, since you're a Xero guy, you get questions about QuickBooks Online and many different things. And how do you answer that question when somebody's got a question about which platform I should use? How should I look at cloud accounting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our competition isn't necessarily QBO. It's more so the shoebox and trying to help accountants get their clients to work with them more collaboratively. So moving to the cloud period, I think, is a good move for your firm. There are some, product and pricing features and approaches that are different between Xero and QuickBooks. The biggest, I would say, being, QBO, you'll see an ad at the Super Bowl, and they're, kind of guiding towards the small business directly. Hey, do your own books and then see your accountant when it's time to do your taxes. Xero's focus is more so marketing through our accounting channel and wanting clients to work with their accountants on a very consistent basis. And not just once a year. So and then also our ecosystem of apps. We were born in the cloud, started in the cloud. We didn't move from a desktop product. So we have a larger ecosystem of apps and an open API. So it's a little bit easier to build an integration from what I've heard. And there's just a lot more apps kind of to spend, depending on what verticals you're in, to choose from there.
Thank you, Christian. There was a question about security, ransomware abandons. There was a question about that. Casey or Jay, you want to talk about a little bit about security of cloud-based tools and stuff like that?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. So at Xero here, we are SOC 2 certified. So we follow all the high-end banking security protocols that are out there. So that's kind of where a lot of firms that I work with, bigger firms, they kind of do their technology audit of the product to make sure that data is being taken care of and data is complete and accurate and all those types of things. So rest assured on AWS, and then plus being SOC 2 certified, that's kind of how we do that. Also, we have this other certification called ISO something or the other, but again, just more security protocols and just another certification that we hold.
And I'll add on that, just every user should automatically enable multi-factor authentication and do it on every cloud app they have, because passwords they're just difficult to maintain. And having that two-factor authentication, I can't tell you how many times I went into my phone today to go into Google Authenticate because I opened up a different device that I haven't used in a while. And it's like time after time after time, but it's so worth it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jay. I've got a question. The question is, as an auditor, I'm always focused on completeness and reliability. And how the question is, how can I trust what I get from the automation? How can we trust this, the data that's through automation? Jay?
Yeah, I'd be glad to take that. So, I work with a lot of e-commerce shops and we automate just about every revenue entry into Xero. And one of the things we do, part of our closing process, we want to make sure we haven't missed anything. So we reconcile that revenue right back to the main data source, and whether it's Amazon, Shopify, whatever that happens to be. And, if we're using A to X, we're using DR inventory, it doesn't matter what we're using, we're still checking it to make sure that we have that data integrity. And the other side of that, using the bank feeds, if your bank transactions are fully matching up and reconciling to those revenue transactions, you can pretty much rest assured that they are correct as well.
Laura, can I ask you a question? You talked about automatic the bank reconciliations. How do you feel about it now versus when you first started? That process changed, right? A little bit of automation there.
A big bit of automation. I kind of miss my old puzzle days when I used to be able to, really have to dig into all that detail and say, here was a credit card deposit in the old system, and it was not matching any of the things that came into the bank, and literally had to go down to transaction level and stuff like that to figure it out. So I'm being kind of silly saying I miss it, but it, in the beginning, it took a little bit of getting used to and understanding. And I think just coming from the system that we were on, so we did, get some help with Xero for make it all click, but that didn't take a whole lot. And honestly, looking back now, I can't even remember doing bank recs in that way anymore. It's literally feeds come in from the bank. You have to address the issues or the transactions on the bank side and find where it either matches in the GL or you need to create a journal entry. It's not even an issue anymore, and it's up to date all the time. It's a great thing.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jim Hall, you talked about not being scared about all this automation and data analytics and cloud accounting. Can you give us a little more insight of what we should expect and why we shouldn't be scared about this?
Well, I think we're all scared of something new, but at the end of the day, I think Jay said it very well. You're providing information, you're providing context and data to have engaging conversations with your clients, which is what we're all about. And at the end of the day, that's the CPA's, sort of that next level, that advisory level conversation. So, for Tally Street's perspective, if you can maintain invoices and sales receipts in the books, you can trust the data output. So there's really nothing to be afraid of. And if nothing else, what we found is whenever customers connect their business to Tally Street, the first set of reports and many times do identify some potential areas that might need to be cleaned up or standardized or processes improved, but you wouldn't see that just doing the books. So we sometimes can highlight and uncover things that present an opportunity to get more from the data that you're already managing. So it shouldn't be something to be afraid of. It should be something to be embraced and something to learn about and be able to talk with your clients about.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Jay, can you speak a little bit about making that transition as in public accounting from our practice going into cloud accounting and data analytics, and what the change was for you when you started to monetize and change your practice, and how you've grown that over time? Give us a little bit of background there.
Sure. Well, the big change is not being tied to a desk and, being able to actually talk to the clients and have the time to talk to the clients. Back in the day, I spent more time driving around Orlando, going from meeting to meeting to meeting, and then coming home. And this is, back when it was a team of one, it was me. I would drive all day, all over, meet people, and then go home and do all the work and then start over the next day, and by the time I brought on my first person, I was tired. It was draining. And, by bringing in Xero and making the change, I could, with just using Xero and nothing else, I was able to pick up efficiencies, like being able to reconcile bank accounts so much faster and get those transactions recorded. But then, once you start implementing the infrastructure and the add-on applications, it just gets exponentially easier. And that's the key to opening up to doing advisory and doing the data analytics and having the conversations, because you have to have the time to do it. So you can't spend your time working in the books. You have to spend your time getting the data in, closing that set of books, and then using that data with the client in a timely fashion so that they can make proper business decisions. So, when I look back at I started using Xero in 2012. I was fully immersed and not taking on any other clients outside of Xero or outside of the cloud by 2014, 2017, I'm Xero only. And in that time, I'm able to get so efficient at what I do, have team members do a lot of the other work that I'm doing to allow me to have these meetings with my clients. And the more I meet with them, the more comfortable, like I said earlier, they're opening up and telling me more. And that just helps have that conversation. And by doing so, I'm able to grow the relationships I have and bring on, referrals from them. And we're reaching out through our e-commerce world now and bringing on more e-commerce sellers. And as that grows, it just gives us more time to spend on the things that add value to our practice. We're not spending the time doing data entry. And that's what the key is.
Perfect. I totally concur, Jay. Jim, there was a question about when you bring on a customer, and you're looking at their data, and how do you, what's your approach towards validating, making sure their data and what your product, what your deliverable is, how do you make sure it's accurate, reliable, and you've got the right dashboard overall?
Yeah, fair question. I mean, the key thing to remember for Tally Street specifically is that we look at invoices and sales receipt data. We don't need to have the books reconciled. We don't necessarily care about closing the books from a tax or reporting perspective. We don't care about the chart of accounts. That's not what we look at. We look at customer analytics within the invoice and sales receipt information. And basically, your customer is your best check. If you want to get paid and have cash to make payroll, you're going to issue invoices pretty timely. And if you issue an invoice that isn't accurate, your customer flat out's not going to pay it. So that's the source of truth that we look to get the data. So we basically have not only your internal controls and validations and verifications that you're putting information into your system correctly, but at the end of the day, if the customer's invoice is wrong, they're going to let you know it and they're not going to pay it. So that's the source of our data. So we have excellent ways to validate that. But again, if something doesn't seem right or off, it's usually because of some type of data hygiene question that we can usually identify very quickly just looking at the information and speaking with the subscriber. It's something we do all the time.
Thank you, Jim.
Casey, I can add in there, Jim, real quick. I got a ping back from Jim's partner, Brian, about the hygiene of my data, telling me that I need to go through and clean up my Xero data. And that is a function of being an appaholic and putting too many apps and making changes to things behind the scenes. So yeah, that's, now that tax season's over, that's exactly what we're working on and why it's so important to do that.
All right, one last question here. Casey and Christian, if everybody's starting to understand what the stack looks like, and if there's a problem with one of the apps or service providers, how do you handle that? How do we resolve those kind of issues when you have a connection problem?
First of all, we do have an open API, so even you could build something into Xero, but to be called a Xero certified app, there's a very complex 10-step process that they have to go through to prove their app is secure and that it actually works consistently. So if they're a Xero certified app, if it's something being fed into Xero, we will usually defer to them if there's something that's not looking right. Our team will still investigate to say, hey, looks like there's something wrong with this clearing account, or hey, this doesn't look right. You might want to refer back to Stripe or whoever it may be. However, if it's something that we've built a couple of integrations. We do have a very robust technical team that investigates things. 9 times out of 10, if not more, it's user error, but there is a team to support you in case there is something larger that's going on.
Yeah, and just add on to that, the nice thing too with it is, we're working with me and Christian, we have direct access to our API evangelists. So where you'll get, the human interaction from them. They'll set time aside with you if you're trying to troubleshoot something. So yeah.
All right, thank you guys. Daryl and Ashley, you wanna close this out? I think we got about 2 minutes left.
Lost my screen there for a second. Sorry, everybody. If anyone has any other questions, please throw them in the chat now. But I want to thank all of our speakers. I also want to just mention that this was intended to be a way to look at data analytics and all the things that are out there. Xero is a partner of ours. We love them. They have great things. But there are lots of options out there. Sorry, guys. I got to be, we got to be honest. There's lots of options out there. Jay and Jim can all mention those. So this is just the idea that you need to be in the cloud if you're not, and then you need to use the power of apps, and maybe not to the level of Jay and be an appaholic, but just like on your iPhone, all those apps. So we just encourage you to continue to ask the questions and to look at these things. If you have additional questions after this, please reach out to me and I will direct your question to the right person. But thank you guys and ladies from Maryland and all over the country and Xero, and for just doing this program. And we hope to see you on our next call. Our next technology user event will be in June, and it will be on outsourcing your IT. And we'll have some experts on that in terms of looking at how you could outsource all of your IT versus trying to keep it in-house. And that will be in June on the 21st.